What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Sunday drive. Now, I had another video planned for today, but a couple of days ago I dropped a DIY for an engine mount replacement for the E36, and I installed some polyurethane mounts, and you guys had a lot of questions. I think of like all the videos I've dropped, I've gotten the most questions about this one in like the shortest period of time. Like I was planning on doing a video of this anyway, first of all, but I was planning on dropping it not today, next Sunday. But the day I posted it, I had a couple people in the comments asking how it was, and I even had a couple people DM me on Instagram. They're like, yo, how are those mounts? And so the video I was gonna post today is gonna be moved to next Sunday so we can talk about the poly mounts. So I installed a set of 88 polyurethane mounts in my daily driver. And so we're gonna talk about daily driving on polyurethane mounts and how they actually are. Now, before we get into it today, I want to make it clear that these are 80A poly mounts. Now, if you guys don't know what that means, there's like a whole grade of stiffness, of hardness of polyurethane. 80A is like on the softer side. So what I'm about to talk about, what we're going to discuss today, is 80A poly mounts. And now if you get a set of like 90 or 95A poly mounts, which are stiffer, it might be completely different. So if you get a set of 95A mounts and you're like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about, he's totally wrong, just know I'm talking about 80A mounts, not any other. These are like more on the softer side of poly mounts, but they still are poly mounts, so they're stiffer than the factory rubber ones are. Now here's the main question: do they vibrate? Usually when you go stiffer mounts, you get a lot of that engine vibration coming through the chassis into the car. For instance, I drove Powen's Turbo E36, and he either has really stiff poly mounts or he has solid mounts, but that thing shook. You knew when it was running because the whole car was just freaking vibrating like crazy. And honestly, it does vibrate. It does vibrate. Sitting here at idle, it's got a little bit of vibration to it, but it's not unbearable at all. It's not like I'm sitting here and my freaking jawbone is like rubbing against my skull because it's vibrating so much. There's just a little bit of vibration, and to be honest, it's not bad, and it's only at idle. When you're driving, when the car is at any other RPM other than idle, you don't even notice it. It's like smooth. Like I'm at 2,000 RPM right now, I don't even notice. And even if you're sitting at idle and you pin the tach at 1 with the gas, there's no more vibration. You don't even feel it. And another note is if you're rolling and you throw it in neutral and it's at idle, so say you're going like 5 or 10 miles an hour in neutral, you don't even feel it. Like the movement of the car going down the road totally takes over the vibration and you don't even feel it. So does it vibrate? Yes. I will say this: the polyurethane mounts replaced the factory rubber mounts. Now, the rubber mounts were not in the best condition. They were not in the worst condition I've ever seen. They were both in one piece when I pulled them out. I pulled out E36 mounts in multiple pieces before. More notably, the engine mounts on the drop top came off in multiple pieces, which was pretty sick. But they weren't the worst mounts that I pulled out ever. They had some noticeable cracking and they were worn. So they were bad mounts. I'm gonna call them bad mounts for the rest of the video. When I replaced the bad mounts with 80A poly mounts at idle, the car was significantly smoother. Significantly smoother. Like I noticed it was smoother. So if you're worried about getting poly mounts and it going to be like vibrating the hell out of your car, if you have bad engine mounts already, there's a chance it's actually going to be smoother than your bad mounts are. Now, I've never run brand new good rubber mounts in any of my E36s, so I can't really directly compare the poly mounts and good rubber mounts, but I would imagine if you had good rubber mounts, it would be even smoother, you know what I mean? So it does vibrate at idle, but it's not like unbearingly bad. I'm gonna put in a little clip of a cup of water with it sitting at idle, and I don't know if that's gonna tell you guys anything, but if you put a quarter on the center console at idle, it doesn't like shake off, it doesn't move, it just sits there like a freaking dumb quarter. I've had a couple of family members and some friends ride along in my car just out doing things, and you need a car to do things, and they didn't even notice. Like, they didn't even notice the car was vibrating at all. It's there and you notice it, but it's not bad. That's the gist of it. And again, anything off idle, it's not vibrating at all. So are they totally dailyable? Are they like this killer stupid thing to live with? Like, am I overwhelmed? Like a struggle to daily drive these mounts? No, not at all. Now, have they changed the car? Yeah, they have. In very little ways, they have refined the car just a step further than it was. Now, take the rest of this video with a grain of salt, because this is, again, these might be benefits of having good engine mounts or poly engine mounts. I've never had good engine mounts, so I'm just telling you guys what has changed since I put these new mounts on, basically. For one, there's a lot less drama. I feel like shifting has become a lot smoother. I should say there's not as bad of a consequence for not shifting perfectly as there was before. The engine is a lot more planted, as it should be. For instance, heel towing and rev matching have become a little bit smoother. It's easier to get smoother shifts out of it. In addition to that, like shifting under load, there's not as much drama, especially hard shifting. Like, let's say you're driving down the road and you push the clutch in and you don't let off the gas. So the engine goes from being on load to being like off load, right? Now when you get on the gas, the engine sort of like loads up and shifts to one side. And with the mounts, before you push the clutch in and releases all the load, the engine just sort of plops back into its little spot where it was. And so you kind of get this thunk from the engine because it's just, all of its weight is just going back onto the other mount. With the poly mounts, you don't really get that at all. You just push the clutch in and the engine just revs. Like, there's no dramatic thump of the engine going back down. And I'm making that sound a lot worse than it is, because that makes it seem like my engine was just hopping around in the engine bay when it really wasn't. Same thing when I'm engine braking and just push the clutch in, there's no like thump anymore from the engine going back in. And it's not like an audible thump, it's more of like you feel the car kind of get disrupted when you push the clutch in like that. There's none of that anymore. It's just the engine revs and it's pretty butter smooth. The engine just feels more planted. And I will say handling has improved a little bit, and I don't mean that in the sense of it can take corners faster. Coming into a corner and getting off the power is smoother, and getting back on the power after a corner or like in the end of the corner, I feel like is a lot smoother as well. So it's easier, it's a little bit easier to be fluent through the corners, you know what I mean? In addition to that, I want to say the throttle response has improved, but it hasn't. And what I mean by that is putting your foot down, I feel like the engine still reacts the same that it did with the other mounts, but I feel like actually going, like accelerating, is a little bit faster. I think because it doesn't have to load up as much to get the power to the ground, it gets the power to the ground easier. So while it hasn't directly improved the throttle response of the engine, I feel like it has improved the responsiveness of the car as a whole. Getting the power to the ground just feels a little bit snappier, which is nice. In addition to, ow, I bit my tongue, fuck. Oh, like under wide open throttle, there's a lot less drama from the whole drivetrain. The shifts are a lot smoother. I'm not gonna say that I can shift faster because of it, but it feels like shifting under load like that is just a lot less dramatic. It's more refined. As far as just day-to-day driving, I feel like it hasn't improved a whole lot. Again, it didn't like dramatically change how the car drives. It just refined it another step. They're just more refined. They're nice. I like them. I would recommend them to you guys. I will say that. It is not like some life-ending, car-altering, like nightmare to have poly mounts on. At least these ADA mounts. It's not terrible. They feel good. They feel good. I will say the pros way out benefit the cons. And honestly, the one con is that there's a little bit of vibration at idle, and it's not even bad at all. So if you guys are like deathly afraid to daily poly mounts, at least ADA ones are not bad at all. 10 out of 10 would recommend. All right, I will see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep it fresh, and I will see you guys later.
We are dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust. Search but you stay lost. We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this too hard. And I wonder where you are. Mysterious, that's the part you always show, 'cause you're too curious. Maybe you
Oh, it's so hot. Easter egg for next week.